Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in today's video, we're going to review Sesta as a 5-star, of course, and I'll do a little bit of gameplay and let you know what I think about her. But the most important question of all is
she hot or not?
She's so hot, she makes me howl for her. Awoo! Anyways, Sesta is our newest wind/DPS, and she has a lot going for her. Now, first of all, she is the first unit to be able to set an awakened zone upon battle start. Also, she has a specific effect that when she has a Divine Wolf stack, she can use all her moves in a row, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the video. And you can see in the front line at battle start, deployed enhanced or awakened wind zone if 4 wind characters in the front line, any 4 including herself, and as long as wind zone is active, awakened zone, you get the Divine Wolf charge every turn start. So it does do a turn start check, and so if you apply it later on and get the zone later on, you will not have a charge, which I'll also demonstrate later on in this video. Alright, in terms of her moves, surprisingly, she can be relatively easy to use and yet extremely challenging or complex. So first of all, her Howling Soul is a very good boost move. Power, int, and speed plus 100%, so capped out, and status immunity for 3 times. Note that when she does a specialized charge move, either or under Wind King stance, enhanced, power, int, and speed power for 100% for everybody. Now her next move is Fajin Slash times 4, ignore physical defense stat, and then under the specialized charge, slash times 8, ignore defense and inflict elemental break wind for 3 stacks. So pretty ridiculous right there. So basically when you use it in the Divine Wolf stack, all her moves are enhanced and possibly doubled. Crusher Bolt comes next, so wind/AoE times 3, and wind res down 50, and again under the Twin Blade Wolf activation, it becomes times 5, extra strength, full on wind type resistance down 100% for 3 turns. And again, that is capping the wind resist or type resist debuff. Now keep in mind that some bosses do have some type resist shields. This will help you get to the low enough levels to deal enough damage to the enemy. Finally, Sky Mirror is the boost for physical mental focus, aka I don't know what you call it, but anyways, physical mental focus based on her max MP, crit damage up, and again under Twin Blade Wolf, just no big deal, crit damage 100% to herself. Now, too bad it's not to everyone on the team, but still extremely powerful just to boost up Sesta to levels we haven't seen before at any kind of a wind/DPS unit. And finally, we're going to finish off that chain of moves with Starving Wolf, wind/single enemy. This guarantees crit, and again under the Twin Blade Wolf, you have not only extreme amounts of damage, so strength is increased by 35 times, and it guarantees crit, and it pierces barrier. So you've noticed a lot of the bosses and even some storyline characters, even some horrors, do have barrier barrier shields. Starving Wolf under that that charge will penetrate that quite easily. And finally, Center Self. No one really is going to use that unless you have some specialized moves for that. You're probably ending the fight before that. Okay, take a look at her 5-star board. Note that the Howling Soul is the 5-star move that gives you max boost, and the Pierce Barrier move is also the other 5-star move. In terms of personality, not much here, just the Wind and Katana, and so Wind, Katana, Grastia sharing would be the best for her. And finally, standard DPS type setups, enemy numbers, bullseye, and MP consumption. So, let's take her out for a spin. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So, unfortunately, as a lone wolf, she's not nearly as powerful as she is on a team, even though she boasts a lot of power. So when she's by herself, I mean, she can use a myriad of her moves. Her Starving Wolf, remember, is single target only, and so it's not really an AoE clearer. That being said, it is her strongest DPS move overall. And if you really want to use her specifically to clear mobs and you want a specific setup, I mean, I suppose you can use this move, which is the Crusher Blow. That is, AoE, and that's the same one that applies wind res, up to 100% depending if you're using the specialized charge. Again, most of these moves are not going to be used by themselves. You will have to select 3 moves, but all you need to know is as long as you have her unlocked at level 80 and have all her moves and ability board filled out, that Divine Wolf charge will end up using all 5 moves or until the battle ends. And keep in mind that right there, with 4 random wind units, doesn't matter if they're 4-star or 5-star, you're going to have the Divine Wolf charge because she basically sets zone beginning, and then it checks to see if you have an awakened zone, and then it just gives you that charge at the beginning of the turn. Also keep in mind that it does cost 0 MP to activate that Divine Wolf stack, so technically you have a 0 MP farmer as well if you bring a wind mono element team. So let's farm out the Melogia for a change. So again, all the other units on this team are doing absolutely nothing. Sesta is going to be doing all the fighting, and of course we just have Yuri in the back to VC in up front. Yuri does give a crit damage up 30% when VCing in, and he is also Katana, and therefore he is able to share Grasta to help enhance Sesta, because Sesta is powerful. I will say, I do find her weird that she kind of talks to herself in the third person, but I guess that's the way the storyline is written. I do remember this fight being extremely difficult, and I mind you, this is like 2.5 years ago. Now, Sesta can just walk in. I mean, you have a bunch of losers here. I mean, we haven't seen the likes of using Stumpy or Poporo or anything like that at all in many years, and so it was nice to just dust them off for some experimentation, just honestly to fill up the requirements of having 3 other wind users up front. Okay, so we'll move on to a different demonstration, and so some of you have seen me upgrade or side grade AS Yifa. We can use AS Yifa to put the Faith Blessing onto Sesta and then charge her up with one of her various blessing moves. Note that even with Melissa on the team, her Flash Strike stance activates first, and then Awakened Zone activates after that. So just in case you're wondering how that timing works in terms of, the way that the game kind of designates which moves go in order at the very beginning of turn, it looks like Flash Strike is actually after the boss's statuses, but before Awakened Wind Zone from Sesta. And remember that she does pierce barrier, so Murphy, which used to be extremely difficult, just walk right through it. 2 turns, no AF, doesn't need anything specific, and then it's over. So, and don't forget, the barrier also is gives a lot of resistance, and the enemy itself is resistant. We're not even using Ultra Xion yet, and she is able to easily walk through there. And speaking about Ultra Xion, remember that Ultra Xion is not a wind unit, and so you cannot start up front with the likes of AS Radius, Ultra Xion, Alma, or Leia or anything like that. You do have to start with 4 wind units up front. Okay, Kikyo, of course, Baki's Battle Tips did recommend Kikyo AS to help with applying that wheel charge, which under Overdrive does get up to 70% slash resistance down. That will really help Sesta do more damage for your team. And our old friend Ukwaji, which can help heal from the back, similar to Tetra's healing. Alright, in our next example, again, a very old boss, but just to demonstrate when you really start bringing out some powerful units, we can now have a lot more fun. Again, this one was frustrating, and one of the RNG fights earlier in the game. The worst part about this one is it can put up a 20-hit shield. It also got really annoying in terms of either re-establishing zone in the mid-fight, which it does. Hey, too bad, we already have Awakened Wind Zone. You can't do anything about it. And don't forget that with all those boosts, it does give party power, int, and speed plus 100%. So you're very likely to outspeed the boss in any way, shape, or form, unless the boss has preemptive moves. So that's if you can even call it a downside of Twin Blade Wolf, is that she's not preemptive. But the good thing about that too is that it allows you to play with her speed stats, such that if you really want to, you can make her a little bit slower, have other people do things ahead of her, or if you want her to act first, you can do that and have other interesting mechanics behind her. So I tried to demonstrate a few different ways of doing that throughout this video. And hopefully you appreciate my unit selection. Try to select some different units we haven't seen before or haven't seen very often. Melissa used to be extremely powerful, and of course nowadays has been designated down, in your rankings only because you have Awakened Zone, you can do Wind Zone, you can do Wind Zone with Grasta, and so on and so forth. There's lots of ways around it. Okay, and Sesta, same thing as before. Again, I must emphasize that although I didn't really demonstrate it, I really do think that her Twin Blade Wolf is essentially more than enough to take on the general fights out there. Your 3 moves selected is probably not going to be a big deal, and if you're thinking about increasing her her shadow, you probably don't need a 4 move. You won't suffer from 4 move syndrome. I think she's really just needs a 1 move actually, because her basic move actually does the Twin Blade. Okay, moving on to some higher difficulty, but obviously still very old content. This is the last optional boss of the Future Mythos, and one of its difficulties is you have to control the game because it does counter. It does do multiple hits based on number of hits you land on the enemy, and if you do too many hits, aka with AFs or other things, you will get ended. Not only that, Kiryu can apply power and int down, which will hurt your team. We can counteract that with proficiency debuff Grasta, which I do have on Sesta. I will show you these loadout at the end. So just a reminder, you can customize your loadout to counter any boss mechanics as long as you know what the boss mechanics are ahead of time, either by watching videos or looking things up ahead of time, or just some experimentation if you're already through the fight and getting your butt handed to you, as I have done many times in the past. Also remember that Awakened Zone actually lasts 2 turns from the very start of the fight, so it's 2 additional turns. Turn 1 is the first turn, and you got 2 additional, so you can see I have 3 full phases of that Twin Blade Wolf, and all you do is it's literally a one-click team where you don't have to do anything. If you have everything right and the fight is not too difficult, you're literally just pressing attack. Twin Blade Wolf is just reactivated over and over again, and you know, it's almost brain dead strat. Now, we all like a lot of power. Let's be honest, we all like a lot of power, but sometimes just using Sesta like this is really, really ridiculous. Now, mind you, I haven't taken on some of the warped fights, and I know I haven't finished all the bounty fights. I think units such as this will really help me go through it if I even want to kind of look things up. If you're wondering, videos like this do take many hours of experimentation, trying to find some interesting examples and things to show you, as opposed to just, oh, I just want to do something. So, yeah, a lot of my time does get taken up with not only family and summertime, summer vacation, but also with experimentation and trying to provide a good polished video for you. Alright, with the same kind of, I guess, the theme, we are fighting the other Future Mythos super boss that was back then. Again, relatively difficult. Nowadays, not so much. So remember why I said that you do have to start off with 4 wind units up front, and oh no, we can't switch resistance to weakness. Oh yeah, you can. All you have to do is survive turn 1, and nowadays there are a lot of ways to survive turn 1s, and you have a lot of tanks that are still wind. You have Garen Barrel, both regular and AS. You also do have AS Sora. I did not demonstrate it in this video. However, you can use stuff like that to help tank the fight, because AS Radius is not a wind unit. Oh no. And then, you know, you can 2-turn AF, just super win, set up everything, and look at how much damage is being done. Now, one thing I will say as a limitation for Sesta is that don't forget her 5 moves do a ton of damage, and the 5th move is the Starving Wolf, which basically, when you activate it through the Divine Wolf stack, does a large amount, 35 times multiplier, right? After that, when you do continue spamming through the AF, remember that you don't have that 35 times charge. It's just down to the normal charge, and so it does much less damage. So some other frontline DPS in AF will do a lot more damage than Sesta, as you can clearly see in this example. That's not to say Sesta is bad. I mean, you could easily win within AF or outside AF. There are lots of ways to kind of help Sesta do extreme amounts of damage and perform very well. However, I just wanted to tell you that as a slight limitation, that clearly my my waifu Suzette as well as Ace Hiku was doing more damage throughout the AF as the AF extended. Obviously, the first round at AF, the Divine Wolf final attack with the Starving Wolf was more damage than everyone else, but as the fight went on through the AF, the other units were catching up quite a bit. At the end of the day, you won anyways, so it probably doesn't matter. However, hey, just had to mention it because, you know, we're all about the finer details in the fight. Okay, same thing, loadouts all set up here. Okay. And you can see there was some modifications in the last couple of fights with the proficiency debuff Grasta experimentation. And Yuri, not bad at all. Hey, Yuri coincidentally is a wolf as well, but they don't share any wolf Grasta. Maybe they'll have wolf Grasta in the future. Okay, now in our final demonstration, I want to show you some interesting fight. This is not a difficult fight at this point in the game, and we can clear it in 1 turn, 2 turns, many other turns out there. However, the purpose of showing you this is when the enemy breaks your zone, you will not get a charge at the beginning of the turn because you won't have a zone. There are ways such that you can play around with it to have, for example, Sesta act first, and then if you hit the HP stopper right away with just Sesta, then you can use your other 2 units to set and awaken zone, either through the Wind Zone Grasta or zone straight out. So keep that in mind that you can play around with this. This is definitely not an optimized way of showing you, but I just wanted to demonstrate the actual mechanic such that you can apply it to future fights. So again, you have to depends on the speed. And one downside of Sesta as well is that it is not an AoE for the final killing blow, so that, you know, against 2 enemies here, for example the twins, you will now have to waste an extra turn to kind of bring down the second one to each and every HP stopper. Now, having AS Cynthia as well as Sukiya is not only a wind unit, but she lets you apply pain at the beginning of battle, so you don't have to worry about it. It's permanent pain forever, and then you can play around with your speed of your units. We could actually use a Boreas method from Alter Suzette to set zone, but the problem is that because it's preemptive, now you won't have the advantage of setting zone to counteract the zone breaks such that Sesta can now get a charge. So we can do that. And there you go. So if you're seeing what I mean by that, you can actually set it like that. And then next turn, at the beginning of our turn now, because now we have Wind Zone active again, you have the Twin Blade Wolf. So that's kind of what I meant by you can have Sesta act first, break the zone, and then you can have one unit awaken set zone, 1 unit awaken zone, and if you have units that do preemptive or other things like that, you can play around with the speed stats or other things like that to kind of get things all done at once. Okay, and again, remember, we do have the charge, so all we have to do is just press the button and we one-click team and finish it off. So there you go. Again, I must emphasize, this is not a difficult fight. It's just more to show some of the various mechanics you can do, and I'm sure these skills will come in handy with the upcoming fight. I haven't even played the chapter yet, but I imagine there will be a super boss fight that really allows Sesta to shine, and so I'm looking forward to using her on a win team against the newest super boss once I get there. Okay, so in the final example, here's our loadout. Same thing with Sesta, really not much to show there. And then Alter Suzette. And AS Cynthia. Sukiya. It was actually very weird to have her as a Wind Zone setter. Well, I've never done that before. She's technically a Pierce Zone setter, right? And don't forget, Kirill as a free unit is great for holding Grasta both for Sesta as well as some of your other alter units out there. Okay, in conclusion, Sesta is extremely broken. She is a brain-dead unit. I mean, you can one-click team everything. As long as you put 3 other wind units with it, you essentially win any fight that doesn't resist or null it. And even if it resisted, you probably won as well. Don't forget that with that, you can also 0 MP farm for anything in the game as long as it doesn't resist or null. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.